Welcome, Marvin and Dana. So you guys are speaking at the Cozy Big Summit coming up here. It's October 15th. And it's the title of what you guys are talking about is When It's Time to Hire Sales Talent and How Best to Prepare. I love the fact that there's that how best to prepare component of this. First off, Marvin, I'm going to ask, are businesses missing a lot of opportunities due to bad timing or lack of preparation when it comes to this?
Well, I think one of the reasons why Dana and I are on the same page here, one of my favorite expressions is preparation and practice provides peak performance. You know, you all heard the expression, the way you practice is the way you play. And there needs to be some preparation and practice prior to even putting an ad out there or even doing any kind of research. And I'm so happy that Dana and I have partnered together and to present this at the Big Summit.
Love that. So, I mean, Dana, from your point, what's one big key sign that a business is ready to hire some sales talent?
I think that when well, I guess there are two. One's the positive. One is maybe not the positive, right? The positive is we have so much activity, I can't keep up with it, and I can't work on the business now, and so I need help. The flip side of that is I don't have that much business. I need to have more activity, and maybe I need some help.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, and it's, I've heard before from people that say sales cures most problems in business. And I think, of course, you two guys will definitely agree with that one. We're focusing on actionable insights. Marvin, from your perspective, can you give just one or two brief things that you think people might take away from the seminar then?
Yeah, we're going to present not only when it's time, but also how to best prepare. And there's 6 factors that people should consider. I'm not going to give you all 6 because then they won't come to the workshop. But I will give you a factor to consider, and Dana has already kind of alluded to this. The first factor we'll talk about is revenue gaps. In other words, what happens sometimes with small businesses, they make a nice sale. Now they have to, take care of that sale they just made, whether it's on the service side or production side. Well, while they're doing that, nobody's selling. So now, once they get that situation taken care of and delivered, now they're starting all over again trying to make another sale. So one of the factors that identifies that it's sometimes time to bring on somebody else is that revenue gap. And one of the best ways to prepare is one we're going to talk about is what kind of salesperson are you looking for? That's the question we're going to ask. What type of salesperson are you looking for? Are you looking for someone that's going to be a hunter, or are you looking for someone that's going to be a farmer? Are you looking for someone that really can go out there and make it happen, or do you have something already in place and all they're doing is kind of mining them or farming them? So, and we're going to explore that. And the nice thing about this workshop is it's not just Dana and I standing up front giving you these factors and how to prepare. After we talk about each one of these points, we want some interaction, with the audience. So they can maybe tell us about the experience they're getting ready to go through or have been through or getting ready to repeat again, because I guarantee you there'll be people in there going, oh man, I didn't do this right the first time. I definitely will use what you guys share with me so the next time in, those mistakes won't happen. So yeah, that's and here's the key to this. Dana and I, we know for a fact, anytime you do a workshop, there's 2 things we like to do. Number 1, have everybody leave with something they can take and put into action. And so I like your statement. What are some of the actionable items that they can leave with? 2, we want them to have fun. And so if we can have 2 of those things going for us in the workshop that we're going to have, and by the way, just to put a plug in there, our workshop is at 1:45 from 2:45 on October 15th at La Center. I'm just saying, I'd throw that in there. And just a small plug, selfless plug. And Dana and I are excited about having anybody who sees this stop in and glean some things that can help them, whether you're thinking about doing it, whether you're doing it, or whether you're doing it for a second or third time in.
I love that. So, and to me, Dana, what's something that you see that's a mistake? I know you see a lot of the hiring processes and work with people on that. What's a mistake that you see a lot of businesses make when they're hiring sales talent?
Yeah, I think it helps me to think about like why I got started in this. And, for me, I was the first dedicated salesperson at a company to go out and do this. And, a lot of the blocking and tackling, the foundational pieces weren't necessarily in place. And, I was fortunate that I was given the runway to kind of figure some of those things out. But I think what businesses often do, and this is a statement I hear, so if we think about, what would be the ICP for this group? I would say, hey, I've tried to hire 2 or 3 sales people and it never works out. And I've hired sales people before, and they're really just not that good at what they do. And there can be truth to that, but I also ask myself, like, what have you done, to prepare yourself to be able to onboard this person, train this person? I think what's interesting about this is that this session actually bridges sales and HR and talent, and I think there's components to both of that. And I think that if you're interested in sales, I think there's going to be a lot there. But I think from a talent perspective and an HR perspective, I think there's a lot there too. So that's what I would add about that without giving away the farm.
Yeah, and I just want to share something too. Dana is like my intellectual partner here. So I would not have said ICP. Because that's not in my attitude. So, Dana, could you rewind a little bit and tell listeners like me what ICP really is?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. It would be, that's something we'll talk about, right? On October 15th, at 1:45, right?
Right.
But with that being said, who your ideal customer profile is. And I think there's a quantitative component to that. And I think there's also a qualitative component too. And I think that, as business owners, founders, I think that we need to understand who that person is. I think that just bringing somebody on board, and again, Marvin mentioned, we'll talk about like what that role looks like, but bringing somebody on board and say, hey, just go. I don't think that's setting them up for success or you, as a business owner or a founder. So,
yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's
because the bottom line with this workshop, and boy, I'll tell you, we could do this workshop in a day and then break it up into 1 hour, 2 hour segments for a company. But we're really just talking about methods for evaluating, for hiring, for training, and managing either your existing sales force, because maybe you already have them in place. Or maybe you're thinking about it, or maybe you already have someone you're adding on. We're just going to talk about some methodology on how to go about that.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you guys are going to talk about that retaining piece too, because that is a big question I think a lot of people are having in terms of retaining top talent when it comes to salespeople. Always a question out there. That being said, quickly, Marvin, why are you excited about the big summit?
Well, so I'm just excited. We want to fill the center up with people that are really hungry to really take some time away from their business and network and get re-energized and learn and most importantly, just have some fun and realize that there's more to work than just work. And so we're looking forward to seeing everyone out there on October 15th. And I believe we start at 8. Is it 8? Yeah, 8 to 4:30.
I believe so. Dana, what has you excited?
Well, there's a lot. number one, I get to do this with Marvin. So that is like number one. I say that jokingly, but it's true. I've gotten to know, I've known Marvin probably longer than he's known me, but from a little bit from afar, we run in a parallel path with some of the work that we do. But I've always enjoyed him, and over this time, with the committee, and I happen to be, had the honor of being on the committee as well. He and I've gotten to know each other on a personal and professional level, and I'm grateful, for that. Number one, number two, I used to and this is another story for another time, but used to do some work with GCP and Cozy. And so now I'm sitting on the other side of it as a member, you know, and I'm growing my own company along with the rest of us. And I think that, you know, for me, the conversations that I get to have like this, and on October 15th at 1:45 in the afternoon.
What was that date, Dana?
October 15th. I mean, I don't know.
1:45?
Yeah, that's it. But I'm going to be talking to people that I'm in the same boat. I mean, I'm in the boat with them, right? And almost everything that we talk about is something that I've screwed up myself. So that's and it's a safe space, you know. So when we get there, we can all share. But then, lastly, I guess I'll just say, you know, sales is the lifeblood of the company, and you know, most people, you know, founders, small business owners, get involved because they have a passion about something. You know, they're a subject. I was going to say SME, but now I'm going to say subject matter expert. You know, instead of saying SME. But they didn't do it to become head of sales or their chief sales officer. Yet here we are, and I think you know. So I'm excited just to have that dialogue, honestly. So I appreciate you asking.
I love that.
One of my favorite phrases is, you just made me think of it, Dana. Nothing happens until somebody sells something. Nothing happens until somebody sells something. So either you're selling as the owner, or you're bringing someone in to sell for you. Either way, what we're going to be talking about on October 15th at 1:45, as far as the 6 factors to consider and how to best prepare. Those 2 things. There you go. Turn it over to some of the QR code.
There you go. There's the QR code. There you go.
I absolutely love that. So for everyone out there watching, make sure you're at La Center on October 15th, especially at 1:45 p.m. We've got some great things going on, and we are looking forward to seeing everyone there. Thanks again. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Josh.